Hi, I'm Simon Ware, founder and president of the Bracketeer, home of the automotive universal fire extinguisher bracket. Did you know that every single year in the US there are over 150,000 car fires, resulting in over 200 deaths, over 700 injuries, and over $500 million in property damages? I wonder how many of those could have been prevented if the driver had quick and easy access to a fire extinguisher. That's where the Bracketeer universal fire extinguisher bracket comes in. It's compatible with most modern vehicles, including cars, SUVs and vans. In fact, anything with a traditional seat rail and slider mechanism. It mounts neatly under the front or rear of the passenger or driver's side seat and can be installed in as little as 10 minutes without drilling any holes. In fact, it can be removed at any time without any trace that it's been there. It's perfect for modified or track day cars, 4x4s and off-roaders, motorhomes, commercial vehicles such as fleet cars, taxis, delivery vans, emergency services vehicles including tow trucks, police cars and ambulances. In fact, anyone who wants the peace of mind of knowing that they have a fire extinguisher within easy reach at all times. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mount the universal fire extinguisher bracket into my 2011 Camaro. Before we get started, why don't we familiarise ourselves with the different parts of the kit. The main part of the assembly includes this lateral spacer bar that has slots at either end and set screws to provide lateral adjustment. We then have the clamping loops at either end with the grub screw. That's what's going to be used to clamp this down onto the seat rails in the vehicle. From there we have the two multi-drilled arms, these guys here. These are used to hold the fire extinguisher cradle onto the fire extinguisher bracket itself. It comes with all the necessary hardware to do that, including stainless steel Allen head bolts and nylock nuts. The only things you're going to need to provide are the fire extinguisher, which we're going to touch on in a moment, and a few tools. They include a 3/16 Allen wrench, a 1/8 Allen wrench, and finally a 3/8 standard wrench. Okay, so why don't we get started? Step one is to decide where you want to mount your universal fire extinguisher bracket in your car. Here in the Camaro, I'm going to mount it at the front of the driver's seat. I've had one there for the last 3 years and I like knowing that that extinguisher is within quick and easy reach should I need it. I've never found it to be in the way when I'm driving or entering or exiting the car, so that works really well for me. But if you prefer, you can put it on the front of the passenger seat. What happens if you've got an adjuster handle across the front of the seat and the bracket won't fit there? Well, in that case, I suggest mounting it at the back of the passenger seat. In fact, if you have a two-door car, I think that's the perfect location because the driver still has access by reaching behind the seat and it's well out of the way of everybody. In fact, that's the perfect location if you've got a Porsche, McLaren, Ferrari, Ford GT, FRS, Miata, Dodge Challenger. Back of that passenger seat works really, really well. The next step is to decide what type of fire extinguisher to buy. Now, if I'm mounting it at the front of the Camaro, I turn to this guy. This is a kid garage extinguisher, which means it's designed for fuel and electrical fires. I've designed the bracket to be compatible with the hole spacings on this cradle, and they also make a metal cradle as well if you need it for automotive racing applications. Now, if I was mounting it on the passenger side of the Camaro, there's an adjuster handle on the left of the seat. Now that would be in the way of a full-size extinguisher, so I use the smaller kit extinguisher. Once again, this is designed for garage applications and comes with exactly the same cradle. Step two, we're going to start mounting the universal fire extinguisher bracket onto the front of the seat rails. Because we're mounting at the front, I've got the seat in its furthest back position to give me the best access to the seat rails. Obviously, if I was mounting it at the back of the seat, I'd have the seat as far forward as it goes. So first up, we're going to take these clamping loops and we're going to drop them down over the inside edge of this seat rail. Now, I've made sure that these set screws at either end are both loose to ensure that I've got some movement to adjust my width. So now that that's sitting there, I'm going to take my 1/8 inch Allen wrench and I'm going to simply do up these grub screws at either end. Now, I'd recommend you put some Loctite glue on both of these to ensure that they don't come loose. And they actually have a tapered tip on them to ensure that they bite into the metal on the seat rail so that they're not going to come loose or slide, in fact. So they're both now on and tight, and that's now in place. That's the first part done. Step 3, we're going to adjust our lateral positioning on our adjustable spacer bar to determine where we want to mount the extinguisher, either left or right. Now in this case, I'm going to move it all the way over towards the transmission hump to get the extinguisher closer towards the centre of the car, or you could be moving it in the other direction. So now that I've got that where I want it, I take my 3/16 Allen wrench and I go along to these set screws and I make sure that they're all tight. Once again, if you wanted to, you could put some Loctite glue on these to ensure that they're not going to come loose. And we'll do the second one, and then the third one, and finally the fourth one. Right, they're all tight. Now, as you can see, that is very, very secure and very, very firm. So that's the next step done. Step 4, we're going to put these multi-drilled arms onto the adjustable spacer bar, which will then hold the cradle supplied with the fire extinguisher. Now at this point you need to determine exactly where it is that you want to mount your extinguisher. And the reason these are multi-drilled is that they give you lots of options. You can mount them underneath the adjustable spacer bar, and you can have them close to the seat or bring it forward, as you can see there. You can do it on top, which is going to give you an extra 1/8 of an inch of height there as well. And then you can also start turning it around the other way. So this would put it down very low, down next to the carpet. And then of course, if you're in cars where you want to lift the fire extinguisher up, you can actually turn it around this way and choose any one of these holes to mount the cradle, or you could turn it around this way and change your positioning along there. Now, in the case of the Camaro, I'm going to take the second hole in and face it down because I know that's the correct positioning, and I'm going to drop one of the Allen head stainless steel screws through and take my nylock nut and put it underneath. And once again, using my 1/8 Allen wrench, I'm going to start doing this up. So these are the arms that will be holding the cradle that's supplied with the fire extinguisher. Now, if you needed to get more adjustment, there's no reason why you couldn't get longer bolts yourself, source those, and put washers or spacers to either raise or lower these positions even further. So there's the second one, just about to get that started. Okay, so that's now tight. So they're in position. Okay, that's the next step. Step 5, we're going to mount the cradle that came with the fire extinguisher bracket onto the multi-drilled arms. Now at this point we have to decide, do we want the head of the extinguisher closer to the transmission hump facing inside the car, or do we want it closer to the door? I personally believe it's better facing towards the inside of the car because there's less likelihood of being kicked and bumped. We're going to use 2 more of these stainless steel Allen head bolts that were supplied in the kit and the nylock nuts. We're going to need our 1/8 Allen wrench again to do them up, and the 3/8 wrench underneath to do up the nuts. So we'll just get the first one started under here, get the second one in loosely as well before we do them up. So first one done, next one done. There we go. Now that's stage 5. As a best practice now, I like to go around, now that we've been moving things a little bit, just go around and check all of the tightness levels at all of the different bolts. So just make sure that everything's still nice and tight. Work your way around from one end to the other, just checking the final tightness. Everything's looking good to me. These 2 underneath here, and this one over here. And then finally the set screws on the top as well. There we go, look at that, nice and rigid, that's not going anywhere. Step 6, we're going to put the fire extinguisher back into its cradle, like so, and snap its strap shut, like that. There we have it, it's in. Now all we have to do is check the seat for clearance. I'm going to bring it all the way forward and back. And as you can see, there's still plenty of room there. That seat's a long way forward at the moment. Well, there you have it. the automotive universal fire extinguisher bracket installed in almost any car in under 10 minutes. If I bring the seat all the way forward, you'll notice that the extinguisher sits so neatly under the front of the seat. That means it's out of the way of kicking feet, and yet it's so easy to grab in the case of an emergency. I'm Simon Ware. Thanks for spending time learning more about this exciting new product. For more information, go to www.thebracketeer.com.